So I had some people asking me about a football trade I did on the goal markets a while back where I managed to turn a risk of just £30 into £500 of profit within 90 minutes. This is definitely one of the more complex football trades that I have done, but I'm going to be explaining everything behind it in this video. What the strategy was, what my thinking was, and how I managed to leverage a mere £30 into £500 within one football match. So go grab a cup of tea, coffee, or a nice cold beer, and let's get into it. And so before I begin, I have to put up the usual disclaimer and also the warning that the point of this sort of video is so you can learn from it and apply similar thinking to your own trading. This isn't about me saying, hey, look at me, how much I made the other day, how amazing is that? The point is, if you watch and listen closely to these sorts of videos, there should be a lot of good lessons in there for those who are interested in this sort of low risk and high reward style of trading. There's plenty who skip through these videos. They probably skip past this part, this part already. And I can see this in the analytics because then they end up being the same ones who leave ignorant comments about this being a lucky one-off punt and not really understanding what we're doing when we are trading football. Either way, it's not a long video, and if you feel that you have to skip through something like this, then I assure you that you will never get anywhere. So don't be one of those people. Watch the video in full as I explain every step of the trade, step by step. So let's start right from the top, and I'm going to tell you what the initial entry point into this particular trade was, and it was laying under 4.5 goals at 1.03 with £1,000 stake, which is only £30 of risk. Okay, so it was £30 into the market, and if worst case scenario and there wasn't any goals, that's how much I could have lost. It was the £30 maximum loss that was on that particular side of the trade. Because let me just explain that I also opened a fireball trade on the over 1.5 goals market, which is one of my more routine football trading strategies. So I had a few people asking me what the strategy was on the 4.5 goals market. That wasn't actually any sort of set strategy. That was more me spotting what I thought was an opportunity, being flexible, and then reacting to how the events and the goals played out and trying to maximize my profits as much as possible. And then in this particular match, doing a pretty good job of it. So I remember what happened with this particular match. It was Australia against Syria. It was in the Asia Cup. It was on at a time of the day, which I remember it could have been maybe early afternoon or something like that. That's the way I remember it. But I remember it being on the time of the day when there wasn't any other football matches worth trading at that particular point. And it was a pretty high profile match in the Asia Cup. So it was like the final match of the group stage, and the scenario was that Syria had to win in order to have a chance to progress. Okay, and I think Australia had already qualified. All right, this is going back a little bit of a while when I did this trade. Now, what happened from my point of view was that I didn't go into this match planning to lay under 4.5 goals at this low price. There was no plan at all. I literally had the match on, playing in the background. I was probably doing some emails at the same time. Nothing much happened for the first 20 minutes or so in this match. It was a very slow start, and what you know, for this match as well, the markets weren't really expecting goals as well, so it was quite a low price on under 2.5 goals. So everyone was kind of expecting a very mellow sort of match, and the first 20 minutes were very mellow. Okay, but then after that, Australia had a really good chance, should have taken the lead. Then Syria went up the other end, had a goal disallowed by VAR, I think, but it looked very, very borderline. So at that particular moment, the match just suddenly opened up from nowhere. So that, for me, was my cue to get involved with one of my more routine strategies, the fireball strategy. And I just sensed that this could turn into a high-scoring match from this point on, which was why I also went in on 4.5 goals market just to kind of see what happened. So anyway, what happened was I think the goals arrived. There was 2 goals very close together just before half time. All right. Now, What happened there was then basically I had won my routine trade on the 1.5 goals market pretty easily. But thankfully, due to the 2 quick goals, it put me in a position where I could create a nice free bet on the 4.5 goals market. Okay, so that meant I'd removed all risk from the 4.5 goals market, and then I had a free bet situation. Okay, now I do not usually open this sort of extra trade. Usually I might just do my routine viable trade on the 1.5 goals market, take the profit, and then move on. But in this situation, the markets had expected a tight, slow match with not many goals, but the in-play action was suggesting very differently. And this is the type of good value situation to get involved in, because the prices aren't suddenly going to move and adjust to what had happened in the 20th minute. Not sure exactly what happened, whether maybe one of the managers made a tactical change, but the match just suddenly opened up. So anyway, I picked up the profits from my routine trade, and I now had a risk-free shot at the 4.5 goals market. Okay, now I just wanted to explain that I did have this routine trade on the 1.5 goals market, just so people realize that not every trade I do is a speculative long shot trade, laying 1.03 or anything like that. The vast majority of football trades I do are actually nothing to be excited about, and just trades where I get in the market, picking up lots of small frequent profits, and it all just adds up. But obviously from time to time I get involved in more notable trades like this particular one, and then it's well, there's a bit of a story to tell behind it. But anyway, thanks to the 2 quick goals that arrived just before halftime, I was able to create this position on the 4.5 goals market. Okay, so what you can see is what happened was, obviously I laid this at 1.03. Now the price on 4.5 goals has risen to 1.19, and so I backed under 4.5 goals with £160, which allowed me to remove pretty much all the risk on under 4.5 goals and leave £840 of profit potential on over 4.5 goals. And there is a cash out amount available of £125. And I know many novices would be tempted to take that cash out at that particular point. And to be fair, it is a pretty nice return on what is was only £30 of risk. So it's a nice return on the investment already. But I'm a big believer in trying to race those winning trades as much as you can. If you haven't seen my video on maximizing football trading profits, then definitely check that out. I'm going to leave a link to that in a description. But my thought process at this particular point is that it's halftime. I don't actually need to take that £125. I've got £840 of profit potential. There's still 45 minutes left to play. That's plenty of time for more goals to arrive. And Syria needed a goal. They needed to at least score, right? So they really had to go for it. And by the way the first half played out, I fancied that Syria would kind of come out swinging in the beginning of the second half. So at this point, my thought process was that there's no rush for me to cash out. It's a tempting cash out on a £30 risk, but I decided that I'm probably just going to stay in till the 60-minute mark and then possibly cash out then if the match kind of loses its tempo and it doesn't seem like there's more goals likely. Because right now I'm in a position of strength. Okay, the worst that can happen when the second half begins is that it starts slow and my profit decreases a little bit. So I could watch the match and probably wait till around 60 minutes, and instead of taking £125 of profit, maybe I only take £90 or £100 of profit. That's like my worst case scenario. Okay, best case scenario, second half begins, you get another 2 quick goals, and suddenly I'm in a very strong position because I've got £840 of profit potential to play with. So again, no rush to cash out at this particular point, but a lot of novices always do feel that urge to just take the green immediately. But yeah, you're in a position of strength at this particular point. So anyway, I decided I'm just going to let the second half play out. And let's see where we are by the 60th minute, and I'm going to be watching the action pretty closely. Now, as it so happened, the Australia goal arrived around 54 minutes, so that was perfect timing because, like I said, I was probably going to call it a day around 60 minutes and just take the cash out that was on offer. But the goal arrived with perfect timing. So again, I still felt that there was more goals in this match, and I was still trying to maximize my profits as much as possible, especially since Syria needed the win. They needed to go for it. So, but what you can see, what I did was that now I decided, you know what, I'm going to make sure that I definitely make some money out of this trade. So I backed under 2.5 goals with £240 at that price there of 1.4, which meant that I had £96 on under 4.5 goals, but I had £600 of profit potential on over 4.5 goals, okay? So this meant that now my worst case scenario is that there's no more goals and I only make £96, okay? Which is not a bad position to be in, considering my risk on this market was only £30 originally, right? Best case scenario, we get some more goals and maybe I make more of that profit potential of the £600. And again, you can see there is a nice cash out right there as well. But I didn't feel like it was worth taking the cash out at this particular point, just because Syria really, really needed the goal. And if in the minutes after the goal, the match really, really went crazy as well. Syria were playing with almost out with no defense. So it was like Syria were attacking, and then they had like just one man defense, and there was Australia counter attacks and all that sort of stuff. And you would have thought it was like injury time or something like that rather than 60 minutes. So to me, the live pictures were telling me, you know what, there's more goals in this, much more goals. So let's just stay with it. So I did stick with it. Now, Australia, they had all these counter attacks and they missed chance after chance. And it was really crazy. And it was getting to that point where I started to think that, you know, maybe it wasn't going to happen. But it was just an insane match. And it really, if you can find the highlights of it, then definitely check it out. But it really was crazy. But at this particular point, I also thought, you know what, there could be many, many more goals in this. So I also went on to the 5.5 goal market, and I laid that at around 1.04, okay? Now, I can't remember, did I lay that with, it must have been with around a £500 stake, which would have been a £20 worth of risk. But keep in mind, I'm definitely going to make £96 on the 4.5 goals market. So if anything, that would only lower my profit down to a worst case scenario of £70. Now, anyway, what happened was, around 81 minutes, Syria finally got the equalizer, okay? And it was a match where you just thought, you know, anything could happen. So anyway, I repeated the trick on the 5.5 goals market by backing under 5.5 goals at 1.09 with £200, as you can see there, which left me with £300 profit potential on 5.5 goals, because at this point you really started to think that this match could really have a crazy ending, okay? So anyway, that was there. That was there as an extra free bet, an extra bit of bonus, and it just shows how I kind of leveraged the profit that I had on the under 4.5 goals market to allow me to create this position as well. But, well, as we know, I mean, after it went to 2-2, I went on to the under 4.5 goals market and managed to back under 4.5 goals. It's getting a little bit confusing now. Around a price of around 1.9 with another £100, because at this particular point, you know, I thought Syria were going to go for it, but let's just give myself another bit of extra profit. And now, if there isn't any further goals, I'm at least going to make £185. All right, and this is a nice position to be in. I could cash out for 296. I could leave it if there's no more goals. I make 185. But if I get one more goal now, I'm going to make that £500 of profit. And remember, I've also now got that bonus free bet situation of the extra £300 if there's two more goals in this late stage. And there's 10 minutes to go in such a crazy match. You literally felt anything could happen. But at this point, I'm just looking for goal number 5. And if that arrives, I'm going to make £500. If it doesn't, I'm going to make it 185. Still a nice return on £30 of risk. But then in injury time, it did happen finally in the 92nd minute. Australia took the lead over Syria. Syria very desperate, trying to go for it, got caught in the counter-attack. And in the end, the markets go suspended. Nothing more you can do after that. The £500 then lands in your Betfair account. So, yeah, it was a long shot trade that paid off. £30 of risk in the end, £500 of profit. Okay, it could have been 800 profit if I got another extra goal after it went to 3-2, but that was pretty much the end of the match. After that. But yeah, I mean, one thing to really take away from this trade as well is that it wasn't a straight punt on the over 4.5 goals outcome. I was in a risk-free position in the 45th minute on this particular trade. So that's something to keep in mind as well. A lot of people watch these videos, totally misunderstand what we're doing when we're trading football. A lot of the principle of football trading is to try and remove all risk as much as early as possible to put ourselves in a position to win big if we're doing these low risk, high reward sort of trades. Okay, so yeah, keep in mind I was in a risk-free position from the 45th minute, and to be honest, a lot of the time when I end up in those positions, nothing happens. Maybe I get one more goal in the second half, but there's nothing I can really do about it, and you know, I've got that free bet and it just doesn't go anywhere. Now that's on a normal day, and on a normal day maybe I take the cash out a bit earlier, but in this match all the evidence was there for me to stay in for as long as possible due to the match situation with Syria really needing a goal, being really desperate for the goal as well, which just created an insanely open match at a time when the markets weren't expecting goals, which made the prices even more generous. So yeah, I mean, hopefully that explains the trade. You might have to watch this video twice because even I was getting a little bit confused as I was trying to go through that. But yeah, that was it. It was an entry 1.03. As the goals went in, we removed the risk, and as the goals went in further, we started to build up profit on the under 4.5 goals, just in case there wasn't any more goals. But in the end, we got there. We got the 5 goals, and we managed to make a very, very nice return on the investment. It's almost like a 1,500% return on investment. So anyway, hopefully you've learned a lot just by watching me talk through the trade step by step. But let's just go over some of what I feel some of the key takeaways from this particular trade. All right. Now, I'm going to be the first to admit that for this particular trade, there was an element of luck, all right? Now, sometimes when I do these videos, I get the ignorant comment from someone saying, it was just a lucky punt, blah, blah, blah. But in this case, there was an element of luck, all right? Now, the element of luck, in my view, for this particular trade, it wasn't the actual trade itself, it was the timing of the goals, all right? Now, the 2 quick goals before half-time were very, very good timing for me in this particular trade, all right, because it allowed me to create a very strong position by half time. Now, if those goals were spaced out a little bit more, then maybe I wouldn't have been able to create the position at half time of having £840 of profit potential. Let's say the first goal arrived around 20 minutes. I might have taken some money out of the market at that particular point, and my profit potential would have been a lot smaller. But getting the 2 quick goals was definitely a little bit of a stroke of luck. Now, like I said, I don't like to use the word luck when we are trading, because it should always be calculated. It should always be researched. But in this case, I'm willing to hold my hands up and just say, you know what, it was a little bit of good fortune in that, which allowed me to create such a strong position. But of course, you don't need to know what to do with that strong position. Now, what you learned from this trade was that what you could see that I was constantly doing was leaving myself a big upside, all right? Now, in the beginning, after my first move around half time, I was break even on under 4.5 goals, and I had the £840 of profit potential. And like I said, the vast majority of the time when I create those positions, nothing happens. It can often end up being a very tight second half, and then maybe I only get the goal late on, and there's nothing I can do with the position, and then that's the end of it. But in this case, again, maybe again, it's a little bit of an element of luck. We've got the early goal in the second half, and then from there, we then began to build a position of giving ourselves profit, but also leaving ourselves bigger upside if further goals came along. So you saw that the third goal of the match arrived on the 57th minute. And at that particular point, I gave myself some guaranteed profit. So I was going to definitely take some money out of the market, but it wasn't a cash out. I still left some upside on the overs market, just in case there was more goals. And yeah, like I said, very often when I do this on a normal day, that might be it. There might be no more goals after that, and then I've just made the profit on the unders market. But this was one of those matches where everything actually seemed to go my way. If anything, I was surprised I didn't get that bonus goal at the end for the extra £300 of profit. But that's another key point to take into account. The third point is match state was very, very important to this particular trade. Now, a lot of people approach football trading from almost a 2D perspective, where they will act as if they're just having a bet on the match. They'll do their pre-match research, and then they'll kind of just stick to that research all the way through the match, no matter what is happening on the pitch. But I always say it's 80% of what is happening on the pitch. That is most important. And in this particular match, the match state was very, very important. I mean, the scenario going into the match was that Syria needed to win, and they're up against a strong Australia side. Syria is a big underdog. I mean, if Australia were winning at half-time and it was 2-0, maybe I just take the cash out, or maybe I don't give myself the full profit potential. But at the 1-1 and Syria needing the win, I just felt that there was much, much more in the game, and it was better to leave much more upside than to completely exit. So yeah, just taking into account the match scenario for this particular match was very, very important, because of course then Syria took the lead, and then you kind of knew that maybe at that point Australia might kind of have to, well, they're going to go for it because they don't want to lose the match, and maybe Syria are going to kind of sit back a bit to try and protect their lead, and then the match can swing back to 2-2, and then at that point, of course, Syria need the goal again, so it's going to get even more crazy at that particular point. So, yeah, the match state was very, very important, and as in football trading, you often find the in-play market prices are dictated by the starting price, okay? So before the match, the markets weren't expecting goals. By 20 minutes, after a very boring start to the match, the markets were expecting goals even less, all right? But this is what created such great prices in the markets to take advantage of. And it is very hard for the in-play markets to suddenly adapt to these situations, because they are so heavily dictated by the starting prices. So that is something to keep in mind. Always something to look for yourself when you are trading football. And the final key point was that watching the match live was absolutely key. Like I said, I just had it on in the background. I was trying to do some emails, and the first 20 minutes, nothing happened. I wasn't really going to get involved, but then it just suddenly came to life, and then I thought, all right, time to get involved. There's no way I could have worked that out any other way without actually just having the match on the TV in the background. And it's not like I'm sitting there staring at it, you know, taking notes and watching every kick of the ball. You don't really need to do that. Sometimes it's just having it on in the background, and you know when the match has suddenly got more lively as opposed to how boring it was in the beginning. So those are a lot of the key points there. Definitely, there was a bit of element of luck, but you know, I would always say you make your own luck. I put myself in that position to get lucky. Leave yourself upside always if you're trying to maximize those profits. Like I said, check out that video I did on maximizing your profits. I'm going to put the link in the description. Keeping track of the match state, very, very important, and obviously watching a match live was very key. And you've probably noticed the pattern to a lot of these low risk, high reward videos is that I always say the live pictures are what gives you the chance to spot the very best opportunities, okay? You don't always need live pictures to trade football, but if you're going to spot these great opportunities, you're probably going to need those live pictures for sure. And by the way, if you are interested in taking your football trading up to the next level, I've got a free download for you, the 7 steps to football trading success. If you are serious about football trading and learning more, then definitely download this. The link to this is in the description. Click the link, enter your very best email address, and it will be emailed to you for you to check out straight away. A lot of people have downloaded this. A lot of people have found it very, very useful, and it's put them on the right path towards doing better with your football trading, and it's absolutely free. So you can't really go wrong with it. So link is in the description for this. Just scroll down, download that, and check it out. Okay, but anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please leave me a comment and let me know what do you think of this trade. Do you think it was well calculated, or did I get lucky? Was it a silly trade? I don't know. You tell me your thoughts. Do leave me a comment below, and also let me know if you want more of these types of videos, specifically if you want to see more trades analyzed and all that sort of thing. Then definitely let me know. If there are other videos you prefer to see, also leave that in the comments section. I read all the comments and I make new videos based on what you guys demand. All these videos are based on what you asked me for. So anything you're interested in seeing that's related to sports trading, of course, then yeah, leave that in the comment section, and I will be adding it to the to-do list if there's anything that I think we definitely need to add to the channel. So yeah, that is about it. And of course, if you like all these videos and you haven't yet done this, hit the subscribe button so you get all the new ones as soon as they're released. And if you are in sports trading binge mode right now, then on the screen there should be another good video for you to start watching right away. Click on that and check it out. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next video.